It's January 31st, 2013, the 17th edition of the MMA Roundtable. Here with Ray, here with Jay, P-Money, Ramses, and we're all ready to break down some hot, spicy MMA news. We had UFC on Fox 6 this past weekend. That was real good. Want to talk about a lot of fights from that card, along with a lot of fights from this weekend's card, UFC 156, Frankie Edgar versus Jose Aldo. That's going to be good, along with a bunch of MMA news. Let's get to it. And yeah, we got a lot of stuff to break down today. Thank you for tuning in. Our listeners, keep it going. Chris is actually out again this weekend. This week he's paragliding with Rosie O'Donnell. So we got Jay back. Dave may or may not be on later in the show. He's questionable. But we got Ramses here from Word on the Street. Patrick and Ray here from MMA Mental, and like I mentioned, Jay. And this show, the MMA Roundtable, it's a combination of all those wonderful podcasts every Thursday, 7 to 9 Eastern, 4 to 6 Pacific, 12 to 2 a.m. if you're in the UK. Ray, you want to plug MMA Mental?
Absolutely, yeah. We've had a fantastic week. We've got I'll let you know who we've got lined up on the podcast. So we've already spoke to a couple of fighters this week from XFC. So they're going to be on this week's show as well. So definitely check them out. They'll be fighting at XFC 22. So they're talking about their up and coming fights. We spoke with UCMMA fighter Jason Radcliffe, who will be wearing our logo on his fight shirts and fight shorts this weekend, and that's going to be live on Primetime TV in the UK. So that's brilliant. We've got Andre Winner and Houston Alexander lined up for this week, and I've also got Bruce Buffer lined up for next week. And I've just this moment started talking with Matt Serra, and he's agreed to be on the show as well. So I've just got to finalise details with him. And I think the most exciting news, I've got to shout it out, is we've been recognised by the UFC as media. They've given a next event, which we're over the moon, for their event in London, UFC Fuel TV 7, which we're over the moon. So yeah, check us out. We've got all the latest news. We're posting news all the time now. We're getting all the stories. We're posting it before the bigger sites. So come and give us a check out.
Yeah, and you all are getting tons of interviews. Who's your lineup this week and next week?
Well, this week we've already spoke to Jason Radcliffe, who's going to be on the show. I've been doing the interviews throughout the week. Then I'm going to put them all together and really publish the show at the weekend. We've got Andre Winner and Houston Alexander lined up for the rest of this week. I've got Bruce Buffer lined up for next week. And I'm chatting with Matt Serra. I'm going to see if I can get him on either tomorrow or hopefully next week, but that's not confirmed yet. He's just come back to me now on Twitter. But Bruce Buffer, I'm excited to speak to Bruce Buffer next week. That's going to be interesting.
Definitely, that's going to be a real cool interview. Ramsey's Word on the Street. I was actually on the air with you when you landed a pretty good interview yourself. You want to do a little Word on the Street shout out?
Yes, actually. If you want your life to be changed, just follow me on Twitter. The Ant Jimmy Show. It's the Word on the Street podcast. Yeah, we did have Team Sun and Coach, a.k.a. Team Darkside Coach, the living legend Coach Jamie Huey on. Great interview. We hit it off so good. Actually, it was a post-Tough, post-Ultimate Fighter episode recap. I've been doing them pretty much for the past 2 episodes. And I'm happy to report and break the news right here that it looks like going forward, every Tuesday night after Tough, I'm going to do a post-Tough episode, and the Coach Jamie Huey will be joining me to discuss that night's episode. Thanks to the coach. Shout out to him. He's the best in the business, always great with the fans and friends, especially if you're on Team Sunnin. So yeah, just follow me on Twitter, The Ant Jimmy Show, and then you'll get to listen to those post-Tough episodes with the Team Sunnin coach himself. Thank you.
Yeah, shout out to the great, honorable Coach Jamie Huey. It was really fun having him on. Even though we had a little connection problems at the end there, we were able to talk to him for a good bit there. I was high as giraffe pussy. It was really good times. And yeah, our show, the MMA podcast, every Wednesday, or it has been every Wednesday. We're actually moving to Friday. Ramses is going to fill in for a couple of weeks as Chris works on Mitt Romney's taxes in a dark cave in northern Utah. So yeah, we're switching up to Fridays for the MMA podcast. We had Ben Askren on just last night. P Money was filling in last night for Chris, and we had a nice interview with Ben Askren. We got Darren Cruikshank next week. Lenny Hart recorded an intro for us the week before last. Yeah, we're having a real good time. And if you were listening to the show and you want to tweet us at the MMA podcast or at MMA Mental. Let's get straight to it. Enough plugging and bullshitting. Let's get on to last weekend's card, like we usually do. We'll start with last weekend's card and move forward. UFC on Fox 6 in Chicago. I actually just got done living in Fox for a long time, so it was kind of bittersweet seeing all those scapes of the city. It's a real great city, Chicago. And yeah, you know, I was talking with Patrick and actually didn't think of it till it was you know, rolling off of my tongue, but you know, UFC on Fox 6 to compare it to UFC on Fox 4 or UFC on Fox 5, really hard, because those were two of the greatest cards of 2012. But we'll do it the same order we do Bader versus Matt Yashchenko, with Ray starting first. What did you all think about UFC on Fox 6?
The card was stunning, absolutely stunning. It's already an early contender for card of the year. I mean, you talk about card delivering, and I know we're going to break down the fights, but I have to mention some of the guys that stood out to me on that card. There was three. I mean, it was an amazing card, but the three that really, really stood out to me, that really come out of their shell and showed themselves to be top contenders in their divisions, were Anthony Pettis, Ricardo Lamas, and TJ Grant. The three of them just stunned me. But the whole card was brilliant.
What do you think, Patrick? Is Patrick with us? Did Patrick drop off the call? All right, Ramses, what do you think?
Oh man, I gotta say, UFC on Fox 6. If it hadn't been for Pettis for Showtime doing what he did, demolishing the Cowboy, I gotta say the card would have stunk. I would barely remember it right now. It's just, it's to one person just ruined the whole card for me, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, Showtime Pettis, he definitely sold it. It was nice seeing Rampage's last fight. That was well, it wasn't a great fight, but it was a great fight to watch. There's a difference. But I wouldn't watch it again, and I haven't. Other than that, yeah, UFC on Fox, it had some good, exciting moments, but Showtime stole the show, bottom line. Yeah,
it really did. What did you think, Jay?
Yeah, I have to agree. Showtime did steal the show. I was impressed with the flyweights. To me, sometimes they can, you know, some of the fights can drag out, but I did enjoy it. I think overall the card did deliver. As Ray said, it's probably right now the card of the year, and yeah, it has everything you want. It even had the quickest light heavyweight submission ever.
Yeah, that Ryan Bader submission real quick on was pretty nifty. Patrick, you back? Patrick? All right, Patrick isn't back. Ray, did you have a point to make real quick?
Yeah, I did have a point to make, actually, and it's something that it's like they're trying to forget about something with the UFC, saying about Ryan Bader's being the quickest submission ever at light heavyweight, because there was actually a quicker submission at light heavyweight, but it was done before the divisions were rebranded, and obviously this is me being a geek and having watched so much. But I don't know if Ramses knows what I'm talking about. But Frank Shamrock was the champion at light heavyweight. But at that time, it was £200 and it was called middleweight. And he subbed Kevin Jackson in like 18 seconds with an arm bar. So that was quicker than what Ryan Bader did. But obviously the UFC don't like Frank Shamrock, so therefore they don't talk about that. But really, Ryan Bader's wasn't the quickest because Frank Shamrock's was quicker. That's the word on the street.
Powerful, Ray, with the word on the street. Real quick to go over some of the prelims. We won't really get too deep into Simeon Thorson losing David Mitchell at welterweight via unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. Rafael Natal defeating Sean Spencer via third round arm triangle submission. You had Sean Jordan with the upset over Mike Russo, second round TKO, and Pascal Kraus, the welterweight, defeating Mike Stumpf with the unanimous 30-27 decision. Let's get to, we were talking about that guillotine, Ray, that Ryan Bader guillotine 50 seconds in. Very slick. Very simply, what is next for Ryan Bader? Patrick and I were talking about it last night on the MMA podcast. I actually like a lot of winners on this card to fight other winners of this card, and I'm not gonna talk too much about that Teixeira Jackson fight until we get to it. But I honestly expected more out of Glover. Was ready to say he should fight Rashad, but after last night, I want to see Glover versus Ryan Bader. That's who I think is next for Dorth. What do you guys think?
First of all, I mean, I expected Bader to beat Matyushenko, but I don't think, and I think I'm probably speaking for most of us, I don't think we expected him to win like that. I mean, he's not really shown much of a submission game in the past. He's shown good submission defence, apart from when he fought against Tito, but he's never really been a top submission fighter. But to get him in that guillotine, and that was obviously a strength submission as well. So that was pretty impressive. Again, it's so hard to pick who's next because we don't really know what the impact's going to be of these guys coming over yet either from Strikeforce. But if Gustafsson wins his next fight, I reckon he's going to get a title shot. But so if Gegard loses, Ryan Bader versus Gegard Mousasi would be a good fight. You know, that's just another. I mean, there's so many names. That's just another name to throw out there.
Oh man, Ryan Bader, congratulations! You beat up, if I'm not mistaken, the oldest fighter in the UFC, and you got a quick submission. Great, congratulations! As MMA Mental's Ray Thompson just pointed out, it was not the fastest. Yes, Frank Shamrock did get it, but I'm just surprised, Ray, that you spoke his name. I definitely would not recommend bringing up Frank Shamrock or his quickest submission record at the UFC event that you're credentialed and going to be attending. Just a word on the street there. But Ryan Bader, he beat up an old man. I'm not impressed. Let's face it, he is a gatekeeper. He's basically he's Brian Stan, like 2 years in the future. All right. What's next for him? I don't care. Should Vladimir Yushchenko? I thought, I didn't even know he was still in the UFC. I thought he was retired. So it was a definite mismatch. I'm sorry. They just needed to keep Ryan Bader in the UFC, so they gave him a layup fight, and a submission with the guillotine. Come on, it was probably a fucking work. Word on the street.
So first of all, I want to say sorry if I've got any feedback coming through. I'm not sure whether it's any better now.
I hate you.
Is it me?
I hate you.
Why do you hate me?
It seems to be you, but the feedback is a little bit better.
Oh, that's better then. Well, I'll try and sort it out in a minute or two. But as for Bader and where he stands in the division, I think you guys are kind of right. Brian Stan, his role is sort of in the Brian Stan role. I think his kind of job now is to test anybody whose wrestling has yet to be tested. I think, yeah, Ray's right with somebody like Gegard Mousasi or someone like that. But right now, he really does sit in an awkward spot in the division, especially with that loss to Tito. I don't know even if you can call him a gatekeeper with that loss. But whenever a new guy comes in, maybe the Europeans or whatever, it'd be interesting. Maybe even someone like Jimmy Manuar, if he gets the win over Cyril Diabate, it'd be interesting. I just think he should stick to his wrestling, and yeah, he beat an old man version of himself, really.
And also, really quickly before we move on, I wanted to talk about Vladimir Matyushenko. A lot of people calling for his retirement after the fight. I don't necessarily agree with him. You know, you look at since coming into UFC, he's 4-3, and his 3 losses are to top guys in John Jones, Alexander Gustafsson, and Ryan Bader now. I say feed him a couple B-level guys and see what happens. But what do you guys think? Should he or shouldn't he retire?
I'm one of them on the fence. I don't mind it. I don't mind watching him fight. Funnily enough, some of his fights now are more exciting than what he was when he used to fight back in the old days, because he used to just be a grinder, he'd lay and pray, but he's had a couple of knockouts over some of the lesser opponents. But I don't mind either way. If he didn't fight again, I wouldn't miss him. If he was retired, you know, I probably wouldn't notice anyway either, because he's one of those guys that when he fights, you watch the fight. But I think it's fair to say you don't really look forward to a Vladimir Matyushenko fight.
I thought Vladimir Matyushenko was retired, seriously. I was surprised to see him back in the octagon. If you have to ask the question, should so-and-so retire, the fact that you're asking the question tells you all you need to know. Vladimir, you're done, man. Hang it up. Ryan Bader, he took it easy on you with the submission. Next time someone's gonna knock you out, you won't even fucking, just hang it up right now. Whoever's in his corner, just save up a little bit of money there, put it away somewhere. Vladimir, you're done.
I kind of know what you guys are saying. However, money is money. If he needs the money, then yeah, I think the UFC will give him another couple of opportunities. However, yeah, I've got to kind of agree with what you guys have said. There are reasons for him retire, but it's going to depend on the bank. You know, he fought in the olden days of the UFC whereby the money really wasn't there. So we'll find out. I think I'd like to see him fight again because I'd like to see him go out on a win and, you know, not get submitted. But it is what it is. You got to take it as it comes, and I'd like to see him back.
Yeah, and really quick before we move on to the Guida fight, P Money is back. Really quick, Patrick, 2 points we're making about the Bader fight you did touch on yesterday, but I want to hear them again on the roundtable. A, what's next for Ryan Bader? B, should the janitor Vladimir Matyushenko retire?
Man, you know what? As for what's next for Bader, we did talk about it a little bit yesterday on the MMA podcast. I think we were talking about Teixeira versus Bader. That seems like a good fight. Division rankings speaking, they're both very close in that respect. So, and especially considering how Glover looked against a guy that Ryan Bader also beat, wasn't the most impressive win for Teixeira. I think a lot of us thought it'd be a little better, or a little more one-sided. And as for Matyushenko, I'd like to see him fight a couple more times before he retires, but actually, if he suffers one more TKO loss, I'd like to see him retire, just because all of his last 3 losses have been fairly brutal TKOs. So if he can keep fighting without getting knocked out, then I say, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we'll move on to maybe one of the more controversial bouts of UFC 156. We had Clay Guida taking on Hatsu Hioki. A pretty close fight. It went to the split decision, 29-28 for either guy, and then a 30-27 for Clay Guida. Turns out the guy who judged at 30-27 for Clay Guida was Facebook friends with him from Chicago, where Guida's from as well. Came out and posted a statement, saying, well, this is my reasoning for why he won rounds 1, 2, and 3, which did make a lot of sense, but at the same time, if you're rooting for a guy, you can come up with any logic to, have them win the fight. So, Patrick, I'll start off with you. What do you think about all this nonsense?
Yeah, it really is crazy, just the fact that whoever's running the athletic commission, whatever department it is, someone's not doing their due diligence. I mean, you're looking at, 20 to 24 fighters on any given fight card. You need to do your due diligence and see if these referees, if these officials are judged or are linked to anybody. And they obviously failed in that. And like you said, Jake, with the unified rules of MMA, if you have affiliation with someone that close, I mean, you can read into that fight any way you want. There's justification for you giving the fight to the top game wrestler, but there's also ways for you to justify the guy on the bottom who's throwing up the subs and actually doing damage. So, it's just a fucking travesty, really.
I remember where I was on Friday, June 22nd of 2002. I watched Clay Guida. I don't even want to say the word fight, but he stood in the octagon with Gray Maynard, and he ran away from Gray Maynard's badass like a coward. It was the biggest case for yellow cards in the UFC that I've ever seen. It was probably one of the worst fights that anybody has ever seen. One of the worst main events that was ever put on free TV by the UFC, and it was the headlining event. It was an embarrassment to the sport, to Dana White, to Gray Maynard. But it was an embarrassment to Clay Guida. Clay Guida, I'm done with you after this fight too. Your strategy in this one was just to lay on Hioki like a goddamn coward. You didn't even want to fight, man. If you don't want to fight, don't fucking sign the dotted line. Clay Guida, I'm done with you. I will never watch another one of his fights again after this. And I mean it. Even if he fights Chael Sonnen, I'm not going to watch that fucking fight. Done with you, Clay Guida. Dana Lorenzo, get the clown out.
A win's a win. That's my theory, yeah. Yeah, the fight was close, but I could personally justify 30-27. I think I did. I think I scored it 29-28 personally, but I would pay to watch him fight. I don't find his style entertaining, but he still comes in there and he still does fight his opponent. Hioki is not an easy guy to take down, and he did it repeatedly. And neither is he a hard guy to keep. He's hard to keep down. Yeah, a lot of people are dissing his dancing style, but until somebody solves it, it's kind of like Machida. You know, some people were saying that fighting style was boring when you look at stuff like the Tito Ortiz fight. Until somebody's able to find a way to solve the riddle of Clay Guida, then I'll pay to see it. You know, you never know. Some guy might come in there and knock him out when he jumps forward and backwards, which would make him even more exciting. But right now he's winning. I think the Gray Maynard fight, you are right, though. It was an incredibly boring fight, and I personally did get bored during that fight. But still, I was watching Gray Maynard win a fight, so I can't really complain. But that's kind of my view.
The fight was very, very close. It was one of those fights where neither guy really did enough to be disappointed with the decision. I mean, if they'd given the split decision to Hioki, I don't think any eyebrows would have been raised. Guida probably had more top control. The dancing style, I'm a fan of Clay Guida. I'm not a fan of the dancing style. I didn't like the fight against Gray Maynard, but I've seen him in fights which I've liked, which were brilliant fights. You know, his fights against Benson Henderson, his fights against, I remember when I watched him live against Tyson Griffin. So he's had some boring fights, but he's had a lot of exciting fights as well. But yeah, I mean, I thought Guida would be able to shut Hioki out like Lamas did, but he didn't. I mean, he really, really struggled with Hioki, and if it wasn't, Hioki was very, very active on his back. He was looking good on the feet with the striking. You know, when it went to the judges, I didn't actually know who was going to get that decision. But it is what it is. It wasn't a great fight. It was probably the only disappointing fight on the card, I think, from memory. But I mean, being a fan of Guida, I was glad that he won. I'm hoping he does well at featherweight.
Yeah, you know, we all were talking about Guida. Where does Guida go from here? He's done quite a bit at featherweight. Or wait, no, was this his first or second fight? This was his first fight, wasn't it?
This was his featherweight debut.
Yeah. You know, I still put him in that top 5, and I would not mind seeing, you know, really, he's up there, Lamas is up there, the winner of Swanson Poirier is going to be up there. Why not have him fight Ricardo Lamas and let that be a title eliminator fight? What do you guys think's next for Guida?
Yeah, that'd be a good fight for Guida and Lamas. I think Guida definitely gets inserted in the top 10 of the featherweight division just by default, based on the merit of what he's done at lightweight in the UFC. If not for Lamas, I think another good one would potentially be the Korean Zombie, Jake. Again, I think we touched on that on the MMA podcast. But yeah, that'd be a good fight. The Zombie, he's always a fan favorite, always brings it. He's got a good win streak going right now. So, again, rankings-wise, that one makes sense. Yeah, and I was not impressed with Clay Guida, to tell you the truth. I think he looked better in his fight with Gray Maynard than he did in his fight with Hatsu Hioki. I don't know how well he's going to fare at featherweight. I honestly think he may do better at lightweight.
Where does Clay Guida fucking go from here? He loves running. I hope he fucking runs straight to hell. That's it.
Well, I don't know how I can top that if he's running straight to hell. I don't know. It's an interesting situation. I mean, Dennis Siver, I know he's currently injured or whatever. No, not Dennis Siver. Yeah, it's Dennis Siver, isn't it? Yeah, Dennis Siver's injured. Maybe that fight makes sense to me. I don't know. It's an interesting call. I couldn't answer it. I'm not a matchmaker.
I don't think Guida deserves to be put into a title elimination yet. I think if he'd beat Hioki impressively, then I'd say, yeah, give him a big matchup, and if he wins that, give him a title shot. But like we said, he won the fight. But no, I don't think any one of us here was impressed with what he did. So do I think he's ready for number one contendership? No, I think he's got to earn that. And I think obviously we're going to talk about Lamas later on, but I don't think Quay Guida's done enough to earn the right to fight Lamas. I think he needs another fight. There is quite a lot of top guys up there. Maybe he fights the loser of an up-and-coming fight, like the loser of Swanson Poirier, that kind of thing. And if he wins impressively, then he gets a title eliminator, because then he's had 2 fights. He's had 2 wins then, and then he gets a title eliminator. Sorry.
Yeah, and where does Hioki go from here? JMMA has had its troubles in the U.S. A lot of people blame the traveling from west to east. A lot of people say it's just a different style of fighting. A certain amount of people point toward the fact that there were so many works in Japan. What do you guys think about Hioki and his future from here on out before we get to the rest of the card?
For Hioki, I think he's 1-2 in the UFC right now, or maybe he's 2-2. He's been off and on. I mean, he looked really good against Polashevsky. Arguably beat Clay Guida. So it's tough to say where he goes from here. I think maybe him versus Diego Nunes would be a good fight. That would be more of a standing game. I know, especially after how Nick Lentz roughed up Diego Nunes and what Hioki just had with Guida. I know neither of them would really probably be too eager to take it to the ground. So, that's a fight I'd like to see.
Oh man, Hioki. Yum Hioki, man. I feel so bad for this guy. God bless him. He's probably still wandering around the fucking hotel lobby wondering who fucked him on this one. Going up against Clay Guida, he knew it was going to be the most boring fight of the night. He had no fucking chance. Shit, man. That's why you didn't even see him try. I mean, when you know you're going up against Guida, it's like, oh shit, why even bother? It's fucking Clay. I feel bad for the guy. I have no idea why the hell. I have no idea where he goes from here. Yeah, who the fuck knows what's gonna happen with this guy or what's going on? He doesn't even fucking know what the hell just happened. Yeah, bad manager, bad matchup, boring fight. Sorry, Hioki. Good luck to you.
I've got to say, either Diego Nunes or Nick Lentz. I mean, Nick Lentz won by wrestling, which would be very interesting against Hatsu Hioki, especially to see if he's improved much since the last. It's a chance for him. He lost to Ricardo Lamas because he was able to get him taken down. Lentz isn't really. I don't think Lentz is as good a wrestler as they're making him out to be, especially if you look at things like the Andre Winner fight. However, the Diego Nunes fight is one that also interests me because Hioki isn't as good a wrestler as Lentz. So would he be able to take him down on the feet? Would Lentz, who would have the advantage, Hioki or Nunes? So personally, for me, we're both coming off losses. Why not Nunes versus Hioki?
Before I mentioned about Hioki, I wanted to give my theory on why Jammer struggles in America, because I've said this theory before. And obviously Jake mentioned a few things there, but he didn't mention what my thoughts were. So I wanted to put that out there as well. But the reason I've always thought that Jammer has struggled when it's come over and fought in the States is because the biggest thing that the American MMA does, and with American it's obviously more world than what Japanese does, is the fighters fight to their maximum weight. The guys that fight at 205, for example, probably cut 25 pounds to get to that weight class. When you fight in Japan, which has got literally zero structure, open weight fights, blah, 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 you don't get the guys fighting to their maximum. They don't know how to get their most out of their body when it comes to their diet and it comes to their cutting the weight. So when Hatsu Hioki comes over and he probably cuts 10 pounds to get to 145, then he's fighting Clay Guida, who probably cuts 25 pounds to get to that weight. That's why I think Japanese MMA has always struggled. And I think there's only been the few exceptions of Asian fighters that have come over and done well. Obviously, Don Kyung Kim's one of them, but then I think he's based in the States now, so he's getting the maximum. But I think until Japanese MMA actually sets up and follows what the rest of the world do with the weight classes, with the structure, with the way they do the testing, with the drugs and whatever, then Japanese MMA is always going to struggle because it's still in the dark ages of the Pride days, I think, with regards to that. And going back on what we were saying about Hioki, I think Hioki deserves to fight somebody who's not a wrestler because I think they keep feeding him wrestlers. He lost to Lamas and he lost to Guida. Another guy who's dropped to featherweight and who's not really had the impact that I think everyone thought he was going to have and I think it'd be good to see him against Aoki, would be Charles Oliveira. I mean, I think big things are expected of him, and he's fell a little bit short. He didn't look great against Cub Swanson, and I think that's a fight that Aoki could win and kind of build his name back up again.
Definitely, powerful Ray Thompson. Yeah, let's do a couple more fights. Only probably go around the round table once for each of these. But we had TJ Grant versus Matt Wyman, two guys who I've been saying forever, two of the more underrated guys in the lightweight division. TJ Grant winning impressively in the first round via TKO. What's next for both guys? I was really liking the idea of a TJ Grant fighting a Jim Miller, but obviously you have Miller tied up in a fight with Pat Healy now. I like the idea of him fighting Rafael Dos Anjos now. I was saying that would be a good fight for Miller beforehand, and now that Miller's tied up and Dos Anjos isn't, I feel like that would be a fun fight. What do you guys think is next for TJ?
Rafael Dos who? No way, man. TJ Grant, it was so impressive. I'll give him the honor of fighting Gray Maynard next. I think Gray Maynard should take this guy out. That would be a hell of a fight. Because basically, TJ Grant, he doesn't. Who is he? He's just barely. This is the first time people have noticed him, really. So yeah, give him the Gray Maynard fight. That'd be fucking badass. I'd love to see that one. Yeah, and it'd be a battle. I'm not taking anything away from the kid. I think it would be a pretty damn even, slight edge to Maynard.
I've got to agree. He looked impressive but for me, I think there's never been a time I'd like to see Aoki step in the octagon. I think TJ Grant would be an incredible opponent for him. I think Grant would be able to really expose Aoki's appalling stand-up game, and if the fight did hit the ground, Grant would be able to get out of there quickly as. But however, I guess you've got to think of it as this is the UFC, so of course you've got to consider a realistic fighter. Yeah, I do like that Gray Maynard matchup, or alternatively Melvin Gillard. Then Melvin, he'll probably get submitted if the fight hit the ground, but Melvin has got that good takedown defense, and if TJ Grant wants to stand with him, well, got to benefit Melvin on that one.
I was really, really impressed with TJ Grant, and to be honest with you, TJ Grant impressed me when he fought Evan Dunham. And them two had a real back and forth war, but it was clear because I remember TJ Grant at welterweight, and basically he was just a jiu-jitsu guy. He was a grappler, and then when he drops to lightweight, he's gone on a run against these lower ranked guys. Then he steps up against Evan Dunham, and all of a sudden he's got this fantastic Muay Thai fighting style, which has come from nowhere. And then what he did to Wyman, I've never seen Wyman beat in that way. I mean, I've seen Wyman lose fights, but I've never seen Wyman stopped in such a dominating fashion. I remember when he first joined UFC, he lost to Spencer Fisher, but that was before Wyman did Ultimate Fighter and obviously went on to big things. I mean, as a possible opponent for TJ Grant, I think the lightweight division is possibly the most exciting division at the minute, especially up near the top. And there's so many great matchups with either guys that are, like you said about Gray Maynard, who are wrestlers. Obviously, there was talks about him fighting Jim Miller, but now they've set Jim Miller up with someone else. But there's so many good guys up there. But obviously, another good guy he could possibly fight, who's coming off the loss on the same card, would be Donald Cerrone. I mean, Donald Cerrone's got great striking. Who wouldn't want to see TJ Grant versus Donald Cerrone? I think that would be such an exciting fight.
Yeah, a lot of great suggestions. TJ Grant, he really did. He looked insane. I mean, I had picked Grant to beat Dunham. I picked him to beat Wyman. But Ray, like you mentioned, this Muay Thai really came out of nowhere. I mean, I thought he had good hands, good, more standard boxing, if you will. But then in this fight, he comes out and he's just winging these lethal knees and elbows. It was just a fantastic showing from Grant, and he's a contender. Like, honestly, I'll say it right now. I'll put his name in the hat for contender because, I mean, he's coming down from 170. Big, strong lightweight. He's got technical skills. He's not your brawler. He's not, some guy coming in there to scrap. This dude's fucking technical, and you can see that. I mean, no one has handled Matt Wyman the way he got handled. I mean, the Spencer Fisher, I think Fisher knocked him out with a flying knee in their fight, which, of course, is always amazing. But I'll tell you what, I found this fight more impressive. It was just a fucking an obliteration. As for his next opponent, definitely someone in the top echelon. I think Grant is 4-0 at lightweight now, so he's definitely putting a run together for himself. Yeah, any of the guys that got mentioned earlier would be a good matchup.
And we'll move on to the main card where we saw the featherweights fight Ricardo Lamas defeating Eric Koch via round 2 TKO. I'll pose the same question. What's next for either guy? Ricardo Lamas is putting his name in the hat for the next guy to fight the featherweight champion. Obviously those names have been thrown around. The winner of Swanson Poirier, Seaver, I think Jay brought up a little while ago, Guida. I wish the UFC had Pat Curran. But what's next for either guy? For a guy like Eric Koch, you have a lot of guys coming off losses that you can match him up against. Diego Nunez, you got Charles Oliveira as well, Bart Palashevsky, ton of featherweights there. But like I said, I really like that Lamas-Guida fight. I think that would be a fun one to watch. So I'll stay on the rack for that. What do you guys think?
Sorry. I think Lamas has basically pushed his way right up towards the top of the division now, and it wasn't the fact that he beat Eric Koch, it was the way he beat him. And we talked about Clay Guida getting the win. There's getting a win, and then there's getting a win. And what Lamas did to Eric Koch, I mean, Eric Koch is a top fighter, and the elbows he landed in the end, and the way the blood was flying off Eric Koch, I mean, it was brutal to watch. I was so impressed with Lamas, because we've seen Lamas control guys, but we haven't seen that side to him, not since he's been in the UFC anyway, and it was amazing. For me, he deserves now either the next title shot or his next fight's got to be a number one contender match. So for me, because I don't think Clay Guida's earned that yet, I'd either put him against the winner of the fight that's going to be in the UK, which is obviously Dustin Poirier and Cub Swanson, or another guy who's dropped from lightweight, has had 2 wins at featherweight, has not just won but has looked good winning, which is obviously Nick Lentz. I'd put him up against Nick Lentz, and the winner of whatever fight that happens out of them possible matchups gets the winner of Edgar Aldo.
Wow, yeah, that is a great suggestion on your part, Ray. I honestly think that would probably be the best way to go. I mean, if Ricardo Lamas were to fight Nick Lentz, that sets up, that's just another potential title contender. So that way, whoever wins between Swanson and Poirier, you still have a potential contender lined up there. So, you've got a few different title fights set up for the champion, Jose Aldo. Whoever the featherweight champion would be at that point. So I think that's a great matchup, and Ricardo Lamas, he's been looking good, and as has Nick Lentz. Lamas put on a good performance on Saturday, so definitely right there at the top of 145.
Oh, Ricardo Lamas. It was an excellent, brutal fight. Love watching the blood spatter, dude. It was great. I was fascinated like fucking Dexter. But Ricardo Lamas, he's got to change his fucking name, because I'm a little Hispanic myself, and that name is fucking stupid, all right? It would be like if his name was Ricardo Lamas, it would be the equivalent of his name being Rick Stallone. But other than that, great fight. I don't know what's next for Ricardo Lamas. I really, whenever he fights next, I'll just remember this fight vaguely. But so far, I'm not a fucking fan or anything. I'm not looking him up on Twitter to follow his ass just yet. But it was a badass fight. I think I'll rewatch it again tonight just because of the blood and shit and the violence. Love seeing the violence, so credit to him. What's next? I don't know.
I've got to agree with you guys. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of fun happening in that fight, I think. The only problem I've got with Ricardo is I'm not too confident on his chin. I'd like to see how he handled I'd like to see how he handled Cub Swanson personally, because Cub's got incredible power in his hands. I'd like to see how good his takedown defense is. I mean, when was the last time we've seen Cub really get driven and try to be taken down? I think think that's the only guy I can really think of. Yeah, Nick Lentz just feels like too much of a step down. Lamas is on a lot of form, but could Lamas's chin keep up with Edgar or Aldo? Probably not, but that's just my opinion.
For sure. We'll keep it moving. Lightweights, Anthony Pettis defeating Donald Cerrone. Want to go down the roundtable a couple times for this one. We've kind of been discussing it earlier, so what's next for either guy? For Donald Cerrone, who I really like is Khabib Nurmagomedov. He hasn't lost, but he hasn't fought anyone like Cerrone yet. His last win against Thiago Tavares. I like Cerrone, Nurmagomedov. For Pettis, give him the title shot. What do y'all think?
My bad, that was me. I've got to say I love Khabib. I'm gutted he didn't get the Nate Diaz fight. I think Cerrone, Cerrone he'll probably get someone more higher end, I think. Somebody, I can't even think about that division. We'll first of all see how long he's got off, because a body kick can be more damaging internally than it can look at first. But yeah, all I can say with confidence is Pettis has definitely made that claim now. I mean, the fight with Guido was an unfortunate blemish, but I think he's recovered from it now. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Cerrone get finished like that before. He's never been finished to strikes, I don't think. That's just fantastic. Cerrone didn't know what was going on when that landed. Just dropped back thinking, whoa. You could see it all over his face. I mean, he looked quite constipated, to be honest. But yeah, I think both guys should get a top tier guy, as they definitely deserve it. Cerrone shouldn't get too much of a step down. Yeah, that's it.
For me, Anthony Pettis, without a doubt, deserves the next title shot. I mean, like I just said about Lamas, it's not the fact that he won, it's how he won. And the body kick was amazing, but what about, let's talk about the Showtime knee. I mean, this guy just keeps making moves up. I mean, if they ever do another Matrix film, they just need to put him in it, and they don't even need to use special effects. I mean, this guy was just unbelievable. But yeah, for me, he definitely deserves the next title shot, just because of the way he's won his last couple of fights. He's knocked out Jerry Lozon with a head kick, then he does what he just did to Donald Cerrone. And I've already said, really, who I'd like Cerrone to fight. Donald Cerrone, for me, is still a top tier guy in the UFC. I mean, he lost to probably a top 3, top 4 fighter. There's no shame in that. But I'd like to see Donald Cerrone take on TJ Grant. I think that'd be an absolute war. I think with Cerrone's leg kicks and punching and TJ Grant's elbows, I think that would just be a fantastic fight.
Is somebody playing foosball in the background?
Yeah, someone's drawing on their chalkboard or
vigorously.
Something is going on. Yeah, I mean, let me just say, first of all, amazing fucking showing by Pettis. He pulled out the Street Fighter 2 Sagat, jumping off the cage, flying tiger knee to the fucking face, which preceded just the deadly leg kicks to the liver. For Cerrone, though, I'd like to see him against TJ Grant. I think that's a good matchup. Like it's been mentioned, he's probably in the top 5, top 10, easily top 10, probably more like top 5 year round. So you gotta give him somewhere around that level, unless he starts losing a few in a row. Only then should he go back in competition.
This was the fucking fight of the night for a reason, man. I was impressed. I wasn't even Anthony Pettis. He wasn't even on my radar. Yeah, I saw the badass Showtime kick or whatever. We all saw it, but I wasn't a fan until I saw this fucking shit. He destroyed the Cowboy. He embarrassed him. He made the Cowboy look like a fucking white belt. I felt sorry for the Cowboy for once in my life, man. When he busted out the Brian Ebersol rainbow kick, when Pettis attempted that, I knew it was all over for the Cowboy right then and there. All right, Donald Cerrone had no fucking answer. It was great. In my opinion, that was the knockout of the night too, man. Hell yeah, it was. A fucking liver kick that just ended the fucking fight. Excellent. I'm a Showtime fan now. I am on board. Shit, I can't even yeah, next he has to fight for the title next, and of course he will. Just what are they going to do? They can't put anybody in front of him right now. It's time for the title right away. Hell yeah.
Oh, that was me where I was supposed to be talking. Sorry. I was trying to get Patrick re-added up to the call. Mm-hmm. All that sloppiness will be cut out. Don't you worry. Let's move on to that light heavyweight bout, the co-main between Glover Teixeira and Rampage Jackson. We'll keep it to one sweep around the round table and glean from all of you, A, what's next for Glover Teixeira, and B, if you think Rampage will ever be back in the UFC. I think Glover, I was ready to give him Rashad Evans after this, but he didn't really impress me as much as I thought he was going to. Give him a guy like Ryan Bader, and do we see Rampage in the UFC again? I don't think so. He's sort of, I made the same metaphor on yesterday's show. He's been playing this video game at the hardest level for a while now. And now it's time to set it back to easy in Bellator and get some nice knockouts. So, no, I don't think we ever see Rampage again. But yeah, what's next for Glover? Do we see Rampage again?
With regards to Glover, I mean, he beat Rampage, and Rampage has always proved to be very durable. There's only a few guys that have actually put Rampage away. Obviously, we've seen it more when he was in Pride, when he fought Vanderlei Silva and Shogun, but he's not been put away in the UFC. So I don't think you should take too much from Glover. Glover beat a tough guy, he did what he had to do, and I personally thought it was a pretty good fight. Up until the main event, I thought it was the fight of the night, but that's just my opinion. So, what's next for Glover? I'd like to see him face, if Gustafsson beats Mousasi and then Gustafsson goes on to fight for the title, I'd love to see Glover fight Mousasi. I think that'd be a really, really good fight.
Yeah, that's a great call, Ray. What's next for Rampage? I'd like to see him in the UFC because I think Rampage is the top 5 guy easily. I mean, he was the Pride and he unified the UFC and the Pride light heavyweight titles. He's definitely, I'd put him in the top 5 at light heavyweight to this day. But yeah, I don't know if he's going to be around. He's been talking all this shit about the UFC and everything, and in spite of how much money he's made, and Dana fucking bailing him out of jail and shit like that. So it's just, who knows how it's going to work out. But for Glover Teixeira, yeah, I think Bader's a good route to go.
I think Rampage will be back, just not anytime soon, but eventually. Those bills are going to pile up again, and you'll see him take another fight. The UFC will be smart enough to just give him a little. They'll throw him a bone. They won't put him up there and it's with a top ranked guy or a contender shot or anything like that. It'll be a one-off if he comes back to the UFC. But Glover, shit, that's a tough call. I mean, it would make sense for him to fight like Shogun or someone of that caliber. I don't know. Maybe if Rich Franklin ever decides to move up to 205 permanently, maybe he'll fight someone like that. Maybe Forrest Griffin after he gets better. But yeah, Glover, man, it's time to fight some big names. He can't fight a no name anymore. It's time to really fucking test this guy. So that's what's next for him. A test.
I think Ramses is right here. A test is perfect for him. I don't think Rich Franklin is a test at all. Rich Franklin got knocked out in his last fight against Kung Lee. I just don't think that fight interests me personally. But yeah, you hit it. The fight I want to see is Shogun. What Shogun's coming off a loss. Yeah, I do want to see how Glover does take on a wrestler, see how he fights off his back and things like that. But I just think that the Glover fight is really interesting. I think it would be they drop bombs, they go at it, they stand toe to toe with each other, and Glover might take him down, but what's Shogun going to do about it? He's going to get straight back up. As for do we ever see Rampage in the UFC again? Not unless he's got a film to promote or something like that. I seriously don't think so. No.
Yeah, it's definitely the end of an era with Rampage leaving the UFC. Flyweight Championship main event: Demetrius Johnson defeating John Dodson in a unanimous decision. Jay, if you can mute up, I'm still getting a little bit of feedback. 49-46, 48-47, 48-47. I do want to ask what you think is next for both guys, but I think a key point in the fight, there were 2 points actually where the fight was stopped because of an illegal blow from Demetrius Johnson to John Dodson. The first one being a knee to the pop rocks, and the second one a knee to the head of a grounded opponent. I think Mighty Mouse should have been docked a point after that second illegal knee, and you know what? That would have turned the fight into a majority draw. Do you all think Demetrius Johnson should have been docked a point after that second illegal knee?
I definitely do. I think this match brought up a lot of different issues with the rules and judging. I mean, I believe it was the first round. John Dodson, he actually knocked down Mighty Mouse like at least twice in that first round. Or maybe it was twice in the second round, but at a certain point, it makes you wonder what dictates a 10-8 and if we shouldn't change the way we look at stuff like that. But as far as the repeated fouls, I mean, first he kicks him in the nuts. Okay, there's a lot of ways that can happen. Then he knees him in the head while he's got the 3-point stance going. And it's like, how are you not getting a point deducted? I mean, he got kneed in the fucking face, and it was a foul. And he had previously fouled his opponent. Like, do you have to... Is it like, oh, well, you need him in the face, but that was an accident. So then you fucking poke the guy in in his eye. And it's like, oh, well, since, you did that and that was an accident, it's a different foul. You can just... It's fucking stupid. You should have definitely been deducted a point.
I gotta disagree here. Big John McCarthy is one of the best in the business for a reason. The point should not have been deducted. Because it was not an intentional foul. Demetrius, you saw the angle. We were all watching. He couldn't actually see when the hand was down. And let's face it, John Dodson was playing the game there. He was playing little games there with the rules. He was not trying to get out of that position. He was not fighting back. What he was attempting to do was draw the foul. Let's face it, that's what he was doing. That was his strategy. It's a coward strategy. So, Demetrius couldn't see when his hand was up or down, whatever. He just fought, one of them landed while the hand was down. What the hell's the difference besides the legality of the rules on paper? But we were all watching with our own eyes. John Dodson wasn't fighting. He was trying to draw the foul. Fuck that. So, Big John, when it happened, he separated them, gave Dodson time. But he did not take the point. He gave Demetrius a warning. Let's face it, man. If you're gonna play that game, maybe the rules will respect you, but the fans and the people watching won't. And I'm lucky that Big John was in there because he made the right call. And let's face it, Mighty Mouse came back and won that fight. The knee was not a deciding factor. Word on the street.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that Big John did make the right call. However, you have got to look at it that it's a very different strike compared to an eye poke or a groin kick. I think I could justify why, when you are playing the game, as soon as you start playing the game, you shouldn't be allowed an immediate point deduction. However, I do completely disagree. Well, the first time that knee was landed, he hadn't been playing the game up to that point. He put his hand down, and he had full justification of why to put it down, because he knew the knees were coming. So I know that for Mighty Mouse, you shouldn't... he wants to throw. He wants to try and injure his opponent. He's trying to land points in the judges' scorecards, everything like that. But you've got to remember, rule number one is you can't strike a downed opponent. And why would you put yourself in any risk by even potentially throwing in that position? He didn't have to throw. It's not a strike he had to throw. I could justify it either way. What happened. My only issue with this whole thing is, as I probably think we're going to move on to, has Mighty Mouse in his 2-3 fights at flyweight already cleared out the division? I'm not interested in seeing any other fights, to be honest, personally.
I have to agree with some of the points made, disagree with some of the points made. So I'll go with what side I'm thinking. I didn't comment on the Rampage thing. I completely missed it. But somebody has messaged us about Rampage's for his next opponent, and Wes has sent in a message saying that Rampage's next opponent should be Arnold Schwarzenegger. So if they do the 18-2, Arnie needs to be the villain. I think we need to see them two throw down.
What?
So, and maybe Ramses can claim that fight will be a work, but I don't know if it will be.
I'd pay money to see that, man.
Anyway, back to the topic. With regards to the knee, that rule is such a daft rule because obviously, you know, those rules, when they were originally set up, it was mainly to protect the guy that was lying on the floor from getting kicked, stomped or kneed in the head. And then we see it happens where you've got somebody who's lying on their back and they're in the guard and they're throwing their feet, and that's an illegal strike. And then you've got that guy there crouching over, hand on the floor, hand off the floor, hand off. You know, a split second later it's legal, and then it's illegal. So yeah, it's a silly rule anyway. Do I think the point should be deducted? Again, it's one of them where I never like to see a point deducted. If it had been deducted, it would have been, oh well. I'm kind of glad that it wasn't, because in such a close fight for it to have come down to a point being deducted. And I agree with what Ramsey said. I don't think that it did affect the outcome of the fight. I mean, Dodson, as I think a lot of people expected, was clearly tied in the later rounds. I mean, in that fifth round, Johnson just annihilated him with the knees in the clinch. It was amazing to see. I wanted to see what Jay just said about the cleaning out the division. I disagree, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of guys coming up in that flyweight division. And already, for me, I'm interested in seeing what happens with John Moraga. I mean, the guy's looked like an absolute beast in his first two fights. He's won with a spectacular knockout over, obviously, Ulysses Gomez. And then he fights against Chris Carriosa, who's no joke. We've seen Carriosa have a bit of a splash at bantamweight, and he gets him in a really tight choke. So, yeah, I'm certainly interested to see what happens with the flyweight division. I'm loving that division.
Yeah, and talking about the future of both guys, you know, the flyweight division is slowly getting deeper and deeper as the UFC expands. What's next for both guys? I think Demetrius Johnson, all of us can agree, will get the winner of Joseph Benavidez and Mighty Mouse McCall, and Uncle Creepy McCall, who we'll talk about that fight later on this evening. But next for Dodson, I like John Moraga. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think you're pretty much right on there with Demetrius Johnson getting the McCall Benavidez winner. I think that's even what Dana White had stated that matchup was going to be. Very interesting considering both guys are coming off of losses, but that's okay. Both of them, as it stands right now, are probably number 2 and number 3 in the division. Although Dodson, he's certainly up there in the mix. And as for Dodson, tough to say. I mean, the division, they've got 12, 13 guys in the flyweight division right now. I don't even know where it's at. Maybe Louis Gaudino, they were on the same season of Tough. Now they're both at 125. If I'm not mistaken, Gaudino's last fight, oh gosh, actually I can't even remember. I want to say it was against
Lineker.
John Lineker. I'm not sure if he's fought since then, but I believe he's got a little win on his record. So yeah, I say match them two up.
Oh man, what's next for Demetrius Johnson and John Dodson? It feels like every fight that could happen in this division has already happened. I honestly don't care, guys. So I guess whatever fight hasn't been made at this point, I guess that's next, whatever that is. But it feels like they've already all fought each other at this point. It's like this division is an open and shut case here. So they could fold it up tomorrow. Nobody would miss it. That's the word.
I'd miss it. Right. For Johnson, it looks like he's going to fight the winner of McCall Benavidez. That fight makes sense. I know they're both coming off losses, but as this division is still relatively new, and they are obviously the top guys in the division, I think getting to see McCall versus Benavidez is really good. I think when the division was formed, that was one of the fights people wanted to see, and a lot of people thought that was going to be the final. So that's good. For Dodson, I wouldn't want to see him fight Moraga just because I think that's kind of like a bit of a contender killer fight, and I'd like to see Moraga go on and fight for a title. I'm not saying he couldn't beat Dodson, but I wouldn't like to see him lose. But I think Dodson versus Carriosa would be a good fight. They're both coming off losses. let's see how good they are. See if they can who can bounce back out of them, because they're both two top guys in that division as well.
Yeah.
Me. You're going to cut me off as well, Jay?
Yeah, I guess so.
Sorry, Jay.
It's all right, no worries. As I already said, I think the winner of Benavidez versus McCall gets the next shot, because who else is there in the division, really? I think you guys are naming people like Moraga, like Elliott, but really, could they really hang with Demetrius Johnson, who is able to hang with Dominic Cruz? For me, the division, I think Ramses is right. If you shut the division right now, I think you could easily bring it back in a couple of years and there'd be a lot more names. But as of right now, it's just like, I don't know what you do with Demetrius Johnson. Maybe send him back up to 135 just to see if he's gotten any better up there.
Yeah, really a lot of options for all of these guys. We're definitely going to talk about Benavidez, McCall later on at the end of the show. Lots of stuff going on in his neck of the woods. We have a lot of news to break down, so we kind of got to fly through all this, I guess, in the next hour. But let's kick it off with some Bonehead of the Week. Y'all ready? All right, let's hit up the Bonehead of the Week. Sorry about that little bit of technical errors, but we're back online. My Bonehead of the Week simply goes to John Jones' team. God, just what a bunch of selfish pricks, to be totally honest. Sure, you have the chance to make the first matchup. It's not the most ideal matchup, but you got to back up your teammate. All these guys, Josh Salmon, Bubba McDaniel, saying, "Oh, I don't like the way he's acting because he better win because I want to be able to pick my dream fight." That's not how it works, guys. You got to back up your teammate. And just the behavior of John Jones' Team Jones being so selfish, being so negative against their own guy. They're all my boneheads of the week. Jay?
For me, it's a bit of a weird one. Dana White has recently announced that he's adding the strawweight division to the UFC. Now, first of all, you've got the flyweight division, which has currently got a whopping 13 fighters in it, and he's thinking about adding a strawweight, which is, 115 pounds. Personally, I can't think of any strawweights in MMA, but I've checked a few of these guys out, and there's a guy who's 6th, and his record is 5-4. This division is going to be brilliant. So my bonehead has got to be Dana White for even thinking about this decision this early on.
Well, and my bonehead of the week is kind of similar to Jay's. My bonehead of the week is the UFC/Zuffa for recently coming out and saying that they're not adding any more fighters to the women's division, that they're basically not building the women's 135-pound bantamweight division until after the Ronda Rousey-Liz Carmouche fight. Now, what kind of sense does that make? So exactly what are they fighting for? How are you going to have a championship fight and a championship belt on the line for a division that doesn't exist? I mean, I love women's MMA. I thought this was coming just a little too soon. Invicta Fighting Championship, they're doing great things with their promotion, really building up women's MMA. I think maybe a year or two down the road would have been the right time to introduce WMMA to the UFC. And how are you going to have a fucking title fight for a division that doesn't exist? UFC, Zuffa, you're my bonehead of the week.
My bonehead of the week is similar to Jake's bonehead, as I'm going back to this brand new season of Ultimate Fighter, and you went for Team Jones, I'm going for John Jones himself. I mean, you've got the first pick, you get to match up. Then what you do? I know they're giving you this list. At the end of the day, you speak to your coaches and you pick a fight. You pick your best guy, you put it against their worst guy. That's what you do. That's how the game works. You get all your best guys through. That's just common sense. So what do? He picks his fighter and puts him in against another fighter who's got basically a foot. He's literally 3 inches off a foot height difference. I mean, that knee that landed, he didn't even lift his foot off the floor. The guy's head was that low down. It was just really, really, really bad matchmaking, and really, really it just made no sense. I just didn't get it. So my bonehead of the week is John Jones.
Oh, sweet Jesus. I've got to once again give my bonehead of the week to Mr. Coach Greg Jackson from Jackson's MMA. Bringing you the most boring fights in the UFC. 70% submission victories for Jackson's MMA in 2012. That's a fact. Greg Jackson, you're the bonehead of this week because you came up with yet another one of Clay Guida's stupid strategies, where this time he ran and then he laid and prayed. And you also fucked up once again because you've got your Jackson's MMA fighter Isaac Valley Flag fighting my man straight out of Austin, Texas, Thug Jitsu Master Eve Edwards this weekend. You don't know what you did, man. Oh, you fucked up. You signed up this kid for a goddamn murder. It's gonna be an assassination. And this one's on you, Greg Jackson. Nobody but you. When Isaac fucking ends up in the hospital, in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, there's only gonna be one person to blame. It's gonna be the bonehead of the week for me, Mr. Greg Jackson. Word.
Oh, shit. Sorry, I was talking to muted microphone. I'm going to try and keep myself short as we're trying to move along to the end of the podcast. But, yeah, I have John Jones making that boneheaded matchup, Smith versus Barnett. Come on, son.
Smith versus Barnett.
Jay?
Yeah, I've probably got to go with Ray's John Jones. I mean, that's... Actually, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go with T-Money. Having a division, what's the point of having a division if you're going to put two fighters in it? That's my word.
Yeah,
And Patrick died. Ray?
Right, I'm voting for you, Jake, for Team Jones. I mean, that was just embarrassing. I mean, first of all, him crying in the garden was pretty pathetic, but get behind him and try and build him up and give him some confidence. I mean, they literally sent him into the fight and said, you've lost. I mean, the guy had lost the fight before it even started.
I can't blame Team Jones, but I can blame the coach. It's his job to fucking get the team together, to get it together. Keep in mind, the people on Team Jones, they didn't ask to be on that team. They got assigned. So yeah, I blame the coach. So I'll go with with you, Ray. John Jones himself.
And I guess Patrick, we're patching him back, so we'll move on. And the bonehead of the week, John Jones. P-Money is online. Maybe we can get him on the call at the very end here, but it's looking like John Jones is leading the pack, and much to the chagrin of Ramses and Team Darkside, will win this week's Bonehead of the Week award. A bit of news that actually just broke, and we will try and sweep through all these news topics. We got a lot of them, but we'll try and sweep through them really quickly. We'll try and keep the responses fresh so we can really get in depth on this UFC 156 preview before the podcast ends. But just recently, this idea of a UFC ranking system has popped out. And apparently that's what is going to go down. And Ray, the UFC has said that they're going to look toward their media affiliate, so maybe MMA Mental can get involved in this. But Dana White admitted that to the casual fans, having actual rankings is better. So the UFC is going to use a aggregation of a bunch of different media sites and the FightMatrix.com website to have a structured ranking system in the UFC. What do you guys think about this? Ramses, you're the one who pointed this bit of news into my general direction. So yeah, let's start off with you.
Yeah, this is it's pretty much just a front company for the UFC, basically. I don't buy this. It's just all for show, let's face it, because they're also admitting that they're still going to put on the fights that the fans want to see. So that's always going to trump any official ranking, just like it always has. This has the credibility of like Chuck Liddell and Matt Hughes' job titles as vice presidents of the UFC. I think it's all for show, but if for some reason it does become a factor in how fights are made, it's bad news because it just means it's going to give more power to these crooked, corrupt, incompetent judges. If there is an official ranking system, the judges are going to have more sway on that, so you'll just see more bogus shit coming out of them, more influenced decisions. I think it's a bad move by the UFC. They should kind of, I know they're trying to legitimize themselves as a sport, but this is just going to open them up to more corruption, in my opinion, in the long run. That's all I got to say.
To me, I think it's interesting, but it's a whole pile of bullshit. Yeah, That's pretty much what I've got to say on it. I think that the UFC will try and use it, but when guys start coming through the ranks like King Mo or whatever, immediately I think he will get unappreciated due to people wanting to please the UFC. And when you had situations like Fedor, they wouldn't even count that dude as the top fighter in the world. They're going to use it. It's going to be biased. I think it is interesting to see what the results will be, but I just think it's bullshit.
I'll jump in now. Just to counteract what Jay just said, I've just actually received that email, so I was reading it as we were doing the show. It's not going to be MMA rankings, it's going to be UFC rankings. So Fedor and Mohamed Lawal, they wouldn't even feature because they're not in the UFC, they're in MMA. This will just be UFC rankings, and it will be the media's going to vote on it. So what they said was the champion would automatically be number one, the interim champion, if there is one, would automatically be number two, and then after that you can vote. The guys will be put in the weight class that they last fought their last fight in, which I think will be interesting because obviously silver switches between weights, so that could chop and change those rankings, and also they'll do pound for pound rankings as well. I think it's good. It's good. It's a good way to involve the media. Hopefully, I'll be able to get in on the rankings. I'm going to try to anyway.
I'm just going to pop in now. Does this mean that they're adding, since they've added the strawweight division, does it mean that they're going to have a UFC strawweight rankings as well as a women's ranking?
They've just said they're going to add it in the future. They haven't said they're going to add it yet. You're checking the wrong sites for news. You need to check MMA Mental.
That means that the women's division is going to have two fighters to choose from.
At the minute, with all your whining, you're going to be top of the women's division.
Yeah.
Ray dropping bombs.
I'm not a champion. I'm not the champion. I'd have to be set by default.
Yo, I wouldn't want to fight Ronda Rousey.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to fight Rousey either.
I'll fight any girl.
All right, hey, calm down, lads. All right, you know what? I like this idea. The UFC having its own proprietary rankings. It makes sense, and it just depends on the execution. I think Dana knows that getting the fans involved in any way. I mean, we saw what the fans voting for the fight of the night bonuses. We saw how that bullshit turned out. That's not what you want. That's just fucking retarded. No American Idol bullshit where you vote for your favorite fighter. No, this has to be, put this on Joe Silva's plate. I mean, he needs to be in charge of this shit. Get these structured rankings going, and they need something like this because honestly, the shit with the women's division, that's just a fucking joke. As far as the strawweight goes, I think they were talking about implementing that down the road in a few years. I mean, they're going to have to scour the world for some time to find any kind of talent for that. But, if this will end the Chael Sonnen versus John Jones or Vitor Belfort versus John Jones or fucking, a lot of the bullshit that they've been doing lately, if this will fix that, I'm all for it.
Yeah, my one take on it, you have all these crazy title shots being offered. You got Sonnen being offered a shot, Diaz being offered a shot. Let's build up a ranking system so that prevents that from happening down the future. We'll see if MMA Mental becomes one of those official people putting in their 2 cents. Tough episode 2. Dissension already within Team Jones. What is the deal going on there? We talked about it briefly. What is with all this? It's all boding very well for Team Sonnen so far. What were all of your takes on that second episode from 2 nights ago?
Oh, I love it. It's going according to plan, all right? Chael Sonnen is the man behind the scenes pulling all the strings. Team Jones is acting exactly the way you would have guessed, all right? Already off to a shaky start, no cohesion, no actual coaching from Ron Jones. Johnny Bones Jones. He's falling apart early. He's obviously, who knows how much of it is just clever editing, but I believe the fact that these guys aren't sticking together. John Jones, man, oh Jesus, this fucking second episode, he's probably learning that, you can't phone this fucking gig in. So hopefully he shapes it up, just to put on more of a challenge here, because I'd hate to see just a whole fucking season of whining on Team Jones's end. I'd really hate that. Yep.
I'm starting to question whether John Jones actually did shout out, I just want to get this win, man. As for how it's going, as for the rivalry and everything, I'm enjoying the season. I'm hating Jones. That's it. I'm just hating Jones. I hated him before and I still hate him now.
Hell yeah.
Sorry, I was talking to my mute. I'm really enjoying the season. I've never really disliked Jones. I think he's all right. Apparently, he's come out. Someone told me that he come out afterwards and has said that now that he's got to know Chelson, he actually likes him, which I think Chelson's brilliant. He just knows how to promote and how to sell. I mean, even his interview at the UFC on Fox 6 with Joe Rogan, Chael and John Jones. I mean, Chael Sonnen was just genius in that. It was just brilliant. It was so funny. But yeah, I'm enjoying the season. Obviously, being from the UK, I always like to root for the UK guys. So I was looking forward to seeing Luke Barnett fight, and I was really pleased to see him get the win. It was nice for him to get a stoppage win as well. So yeah, it was good. I was pleased. I'm enjoying the series. I always enjoy it. And I was just glad that we got a UK guy in the last 8.
You know, for me, I'm very disappointed. I had a tragic DVR failure the other night. So the Ultimate Fighter did not get recorded. I have it set to record actually in a few hours. The replay's coming on Fuel. So I'm stoked for that. But yeah, I saw the first episode. Really dug it. I'm looking forward to catching up with this episode.
For sure, yeah. It's definitely looking like it's going to break some records and change some people's minds. Was going to talk about Uriah Hall and Adam Sella, but I think all of us have Uriah Hall. He's an early favorite in that fight. So we'll move on. More Dana White news. Dana White hinting at Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman in the near future. And a lot of people are saying that Anderson is a little afraid of that fight, doesn't want to take it. Do you think Anderson is afraid of the stylistic matchup that Chris Weidman offers, Jay?
I'll take Silva. Silva by flying knee. I think that Weidman will shoot in. I think it is a good matchup, and it's probably the only matchup that actually you have a choice. As you could sell as a result of Silva's weaknesses. But if Silva beats him, who else is really left? Who else is a wrestler in that division who's got a good submission defense, who's going to bring it to him? I don't think anybody. That's just my opinion.
I think Chris Weidman stylistically is just an awful matchup for John Jones. I've said it before that I think that Weidman's going to be the one that takes the title from him, and I've said John Jones, and of course I meant Anderson Silva, but I think he's just a really, really bad matchup for him. If you look at the fights with Chael Sonnen, not so much the second fight, because obviously that didn't go too well, but the first fight, it was 4.5 rounds of Sonnen controlling Jones, and then obviously we saw, I've said Jones again, we saw Silva pull up the triangle choke, and it's fair to say, and I don't want to upset Ramses, that Sonnen's been caught a few times before off the top, from top position.
Bullshit.
If they were works, he let them win. If Weidman is on top of John Jones, I don't see John Jones pulling off a submission. So I just think Weidman's a really, really bad stylistic matchup, and I think Jones probably knows that.
Yeah, I hope this fight gets made soon. It's really, you pointed out, he's got a really good style to take on Anderson Silva. Of course, it's one of those things where I keep thinking, I say, gosh, Weidman really has the shot to take this from Silva. But then I look at, what he did to Stephan Bonner. I mean, he just fucking destroyed him. That's a guy who had never been TKO'd before. He's got one TKO loss previous to that due to cuts, but yeah, he just makes everybody just look like childish little fools. But at the same time, you really can't say the same exact thing for Chris Weidman in his short tenure in the UFC. He's come in and he's fucking ruined people's lives. I mean, yeah, it's been good. So, I'm going to have to pick the Spider. You got to put your money on the Spider just until he loses. I'm picking Anderson Silva, but I think Weidman really has a good shot of defeating him.
I don't think we're going to see this fucking fight happen anytime soon at all. Yeah, the Spider is afraid of fighting Weidman, has been ducking him, claims it's because Weidman doesn't have much of a name, but we all know the truth here. The Spider ducks fights, all right? He wants to fight, I think they announced that He's going to fight when Rashad beats Nog's ass. I think the Spider is going to be his next fight. Rashad versus Anderson. The Spider wants that fight more than he wants Weidman. I'm sorry to say, and that's a fight it's gonna sell more pay-per-views. Let's be honest. It seems like it's headed in that direction. If for some reason Rashad loses, you'll see the Spider fight Kung Lee next, in my opinion. They're not going to give this guy Weidman. Bottom line, I don't see it happening.
Really quickly, just take 1 second. What % chance do you think Chris Weidman has to defeat Anderson Silva? I say 5. What about you guys? Jay?
20.
Ray?
Well over 50.
Wow. Patrick?
I'm going even 50. I got it a coin flip.
And Ramses?
Weidman wins probably 3 out of 4 times, 75%.
Jesus Christ.
Woo!
Lots of love for Chris Weidman. Dana White looking for more Dana White news. Dana White looking for 115-pound fighters in Mexico. The possibility of a strawweight division. We touched on it during the Bonehead. What do you think? I hate it. Jay actually mentioned yesterday that the UFC is having trouble enough keeping the flyweight division deep. It's the same problem boxing has. The more belts you give away, the lesser each belt is worth, Think about a promotion with 20 champions compared to one with 5. Obviously, the one with 5, each one of those championships are held a little bit more preciously. I don't like it at all. What do you guys think?
I touched on it earlier, and other than Ramba, that's literally it. The rest of the division is so so talentless. It'd almost be pointless unless some of the flyweights are going to drop down. But then you've got 13 flyweights. If 3 of them drop down, you've got 10 people. It's a joke. I think adding that division is a joke. Moving on.
I completely disagree. I'm all for it. And with what Jake said about the champions losing value, I think if you've got numerous champions in the same weight class, like you had in boxing where you had 4 world champions at heavyweight, then I think it loses value. But having different champions in different weight classes, I don't think that loses value. And why not give these smaller guys a chance to come through? There's no one in that division at the minute that we know of, because there's no strawweight division that's showcased on a high level. If you get guys being showcased at a higher level, then you'll see good guys coming through. I mean, I personally love the flyweight division. I want to see more. If they do strawweight, I'd be interested in that. And same with the women. I want to see the women come through. I think they deserve their shot as well.
Ray, I'm with you 1,000,000% on that. Agree on all points. As far as the strawweight division in men's UFC goes, the story was, Dana, he's in Mexico, he's scouting for competition, and that's what they're going to have to do. If they want to add 115 pounds, I say it's going to take at least another year before they can even start to look into it. I mean, like Jay mentioned, how many good 115-pound fighters are there in men's MMA? Barely any. And I know I can't name a single one off the top of my head. I'd have to go do some serious research for that. But I want it. I love the flyweights. I have not been disappointed with a single flyweight fight the UFC has put on thus far. Love the division. My boy Steve Swanson, I saw him last weekend get a sweet knockout victory. He's 10-0 at flyweight. And word on the streets, Ramsey's word on the streets is that my boy Steve Swanson's on his way to the UFC. So that is Cub Swanson's brother. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I love the smaller weight classes. But, don't rush into it. Give it a year, give it 2 years. You go to Mexico, go to Brazil, go to the Philippines. You go where you got to go. Get a fucking division. Get that deep bench going, and then bring in the strawweights.
115 pounds. I want to say this is a bad fucking idea. I want to trash it, a strawweight division. But I have to admit, I have not seen what a 115-pound fighter looks like fighting another guy of that weight. I haven't seen it yet. I don't think I've ever seen any MMA fight with a fucking where the weight was that fucking light. So I will reserve judgment. I'll give it a chance. Maybe I'll look something up on YouTube or something if there's anything out there. But it really sounds like a bad idea. I don't see these fights being too. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's too fucking light. It sounds weird, but I'll wait till I see it to actually make a call on it. Yeah,
for sure. We'll keep on quickly moving through all these topics. Matt Hughes saying he regrets not fighting Anderson Silva. This is another sort of rapid-fire one. Would a prime Matt Hughes have had a chance on Anderson Silva? And if so, would he have beaten Anderson Silva? I say it would have been close. You know, we saw in Chael Sonnen that wrestling game really can quell him, and takedown defense isn't Anderson's best skill. I think he would have had a chance, but all in all, if I had to go back in time and put a bet down on that, I would still take Mr. Anderson Spider Silva.
I think this has been taken out of context because I think what people are not realising is that Hughes and Silva were scheduled to fight way back in the day. I think it was UFC 36 for the welterweight title, and Anderson Silva had to pull out through injury, and Hayatu Max Sakurai stepped in. So I think the regret there is Hughes and Silva didn't fight then, and I think going into that fight with how dominant Hughes was and with how unknown at that time Silva was, Hughes more than likely would have smashed right through Anderson Silva. Move forward a few years, and you take the best Hughes versus the best Silva. Silva would annihilate him because Silva's massive. But back then, when they should have fought, that would have been Matt Hughes' fight to win.
Yeah, I agree 100% with Ray. Once again, it's just it depends on what time this happens. I mean, even if this was. Gosh, if this was 2006 after Anderson Silva just beat Chris Lieben, and you asked me about him and Matt Hughes, I might have still taken Matt Hughes. But any further than that, I don't know. After he destroyed Rich Franklin, even I probably wouldn't have given Matt Hughes much of a shot. I would have rooted for him, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell Matt Hughes is talking about here. He's retired now. He's just telling tall tales about himself. The question should be, would a prime Hughes have had a chance on a prime Anderson Silva? That's a fair question to ask. If they were in their primes fighting each other, I got to say Anderson Silva embarrasses Matt Hughes, destroys him, knocks him out, or maybe a little TKO. Pounds away on his ass. Just the size. I don't see it happening. I don't know what the hell Hughes is talking about here. Anderson Silva would have whipped his ass. But if it was like Ray mentioned, the fight that was scheduled to go down back in the day, I think Hughes might have presented a fucking issue. But that would have been a coin flip fight. But prime Anderson Silva wins every time.
Pretty much what Ramses says. Is there any point repeating him? Skip me out.
Yeah, and we had a bunch of fight announcements. I did want to break down all these, but it looks like we aren't going to have time. So really quickly, instead of breaking down the fight, just shout out a winner for me. Nate Diaz versus Josh Thompson at UFC on Fox 7. That's going to be Melendez versus Benson Henderson on Foe 20 in San Jose, California. Diaz, Thompson, who are your picks?
Diaz.
Thompson's a dead man.
Thompson?
Diaz all the way.
Wow, so 3 for Diaz, 4 for Diaz, including me, Jay picking Josh Thompson. Michael Bisping coming back. The next 4 fights are all going to be at UFC 159, Jones Sonnen, April 27th in Newark, New Jersey. This one's going to be the co-main event, Michael Bisping versus Alan Belcher. I have the count, Michael Bisping.
Too soon for Mike to come back. He needs to clear his head, get together some new training camp partners. Alan Belcher.
Bisping for me.
Bisping for me.
I'm taking the count.
like the last one. 4-1 on that one. Jim Miller versus Pat Healy at UFC 159. Pat Healy was supposed to fight Gilbert Melendez in that Strikeforce finale. Melendez pulled out. This will be Healy's first fight in the UFC. Miller obviously coming off that win against Joe Lauzon. I got the UFC veteran Jim Miller.
I've got Pat Healy, I think, actually. Pull off the upset.
I've got Jim Miller. I think Jim Miller's very underrated.
Oh, Jim Miller all day, all night.
They're fucking him on this one, but I'm going to go with Pat Healy.
And Roy Nelson, Chick Congo, the heavyweights go at it. I got Big Country. What about you guys, Jay?
Tough fight to call. Nelson.
Big Country for me wherever the fight goes.
Nelson indeed.
Yeah, Big Country by pure luck.
There's our first clean sweep. The last one, because we're not breaking down, James Head shitty fight. Phil Davis versus Vinny Magalhaes. I got Phil Davis as much as I like the Team Darkside coach. What about you guys?
Phil Davis.
Phil Davis all day, and I can't wait to see it.
I'm going to make so much fucking money betting on Vinny. Hands down the winner.
Phil Davis and James Head.
I worked it in there. Ramses, you're hosting Guess That Tweet this week. Patrick, just a little heads up, you're going to be hosting it next week, so get those tweets together.
Yes.
But Ramses, looks like Team MMA Podcast has been defending the belt for a hot second here, but we're going to be overnumbered. We got 3 guys on MMA Mental looking to kind of offset that one-sided 10-5 score we got going on. But
if we lose when there's 3-1, I'm going to cry.
I am the champion, undefeated, undisputed. Ramses, are you ready to host this week's Guess That Tweet?
I am ready, gentlemen.
I'll pass it along. Go ahead.
All right, guys. As you all know, I relinquished my title. I was the reigning champion of Guess That Tweet, but I knew I was going to have to host this week, so I gave it up to Jake. So here I am, guys. Are you all ready? Let's go with the first tweet. Now, the first tweet is, quote, "Waiting for my princess to wake up so we can have a play date. Wish I could sleep as peaceful as her." Was it John Fitch, Anthony Pettis, Nate Quarry, or Tito Ortiz?
My God, that was the lamest tweet I've ever heard in my life. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'll go with John Fitch.
Yeah, it was Fitch, Ortiz, Quarry, and who else?
Fitch, Ortiz, Quarry, and Pettis.
All right, and Pettis. I'll go with Anthony Pettis. Why not?
Patrick. No, whoever's next after me, I'm pretty confident it's Pettis. He's been banging on about his daughter all week. It's got to be Pettis.
I'm siding with Pettis as well. It sounds like something he would say.
Okay. It was not Tito Ortiz. It was not Nate Quarry. It wasn't John Fitch. It was Anthony Pettis.
Suck it, P-Money.
Oh, Jake, I hate you. I want your blood.
Very unfortunate, gentlemen. All right, here we go with the next tweet here. This one. It reads, "Thanks for all the kind tweets coming my way. Really appreciated. Sorry for all the retweets too, LOL. Killing time at the airport." Was it Joe Lauzon, Benson Henderson, Michael Bisping, or Eve Edwards?
I'm going to guess Benson Henderson.
We're doing it backwards, Jay.
Oh, what? You guys confused me.
We did snake draft, son.
Snake draft.
Well, screw you all. I know that Bisping's a huge fan of retweets, so I'm going to go with Bisping.
Simply because Eve Edwards is on the list and Ramses is hosting, I'm going to take Eve Edwards.
Damn. Lots of compelling choices for me to rip off. I'll say Bisping.
Okay. Now, it was not Joe Lauzon. It was not Benson Henderson. It was not Eve Edwards. It was Michael DeCount Bisping.
So who all got that one right?
Too easy.
Jay and Patrick.
Oh, thank you, Jay.
That was dicks.
Yeah, that was an easy one.
Who's sucking it now, Jake?
Let's switch it up then. Let's see if this is a little bit more difficult here. Number 3 tweet. Build the mind strong. The body will follow. Hashtag better every day. Was it Dominic Cruz, Uriah Faber, Benson Henderson, or Rich Franklin?
Yeah, you know what? I like that. That's a good little something to meditate on. I'll say that's Dominic Cruz with his crippled ass.
Yeah, I was about to say it sounds like the kind of bullshit inspirational stuff Cruz would be tweeting out, so I'll go with the Dominator.
Who else? Who else was on the list?
Uriah Faber, Benson Henderson, and Rich Franklin.
I get on the Dominic Cruz bandwagon since Jake went with it.
Cheater.
I'm jumping on. I think Rich Franklin. He tweets out a lot of crap like that, so I'll go for Rich Franklin.
Well, it was not Uriah Faber. It was not Benson Henderson. It was not Rich Franklin. It was Dominic Cruz's crippled ass, as someone said.
Oh.
Three straight. This must be a record of some kind.
Pretty good. It should be some ties up in there, right?
Yeah, currently the leaderboard has Ray with 1 at the bottom because he sucks. Patrick and myself with 2 points, and Jay with 3.
All
Jay
right.
looking for his first career win on Guess That Tweet.
Let's see if it continues here. This is tweet number 4. And it goes. When you have a dream and you ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen, and it does not include death, go for it. Was it Kung Lee, Rich Franklin, Rampage Jackson, or Brian Ebersol?
It's another one of those inspirational BS ones. I'm gonna go for Kung Lee.
Could you read the people out again?
Yes. The choices are Kung Lee, Rich Franklin, Rampage Jackson, or Brian Ebersol.
Go on then, I'll go with Rich Franklin this time.
Yeah, that one's a grab bag. I could see all those people tweeting out some stupid inspirational stuff. I guess, because it's sort of a tie, in my mind I'm trying to think who tweets just the most. I'll go with Rampage. Why not?
Well, I'll get crazy with it. I'm going Brian Ebersol.
Okay. Well, it was not Kung Lee. It was not Brian Ebersol.
Fuck.
It was not Rich Franklin. It
Suck
was
my
Quentin
nubile
Rampage
cock.
Jackson.
So Ray still with 1, Patrick with 2,
Jay.
myself and Jay with 3 going into the final regulation tweet.
All right, here we go.
If I win again, come on. Don't let me win my 8th title. Ray has 1 title and I have 8. Are you serious? I'm gonna have 8. This is ludicrous.
I've got 8, but I've got a press pass.
It's very true.
No.
Damn. All right, guys, this is it. Number 5 here. Now, keep in mind, this tweet is at Showtime Pettis, so it was tweeted towards Anthony Pettis, and it goes, "Wow, congrats! That was one of the most impressive performances I can remember from anyone ever. Inspiring." Now, was it Alan Belcher, Joseph Benavidez, Chad Mendez, or Jeremy Stevens?
Oh, wow. Okay, you're going to have to read those off again.
Sure, no problem. The choices are Alan Belcher, Joseph Benavidez, Chad Mendez, or Jeremy Stevens.
Wowee. You saved the best for last, sir. I don't know. This is a toughie. Fuck, I'm gonna have to say Alan Belcher.
Yeah, I think it's one of the two alpha male guys. You always see Benavidez and Mendez and Faber always reaching out to other fighters, giving them props. I guess fuck. Sort of like the Page thing. I'll just give the tiebreaker to whoever tweets the most. I guess that's Joby One Kenobi. I'll go with Benavidez.
Benavidez.
Yo, Jay, you need to quit riding on my coattails, son.
Chad Mendes.
I knew the answer. I can't be playing this game if you know the answer.
You know the answer? You were on Twitter when he tweeted it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, well, I guess that takes away the suspense from that one, Ramses.
Okay. Now, we did get in Ray's answer before the spoiler there from a Jay. But, well, I guess there's no point here. It was not Jeremy Stevens. It was not Chad Mendes. It was not Alan Belcher. It was Joseph the Midget Benavidez.
Damn.
Son of a bitch.
I'm excited.
Jay and I are tied up. Jay looking for his...
Put Jake's mic. Just let Jay answer.
Nope.
Pressure. This is only my second show. Why are you putting me in a tiebreaker?
If you don't win, you're not on the show again, so you gotta fucking win.
I want to go away and create my own podcast. Screw you guys. You're going to help me too.
And you're going up against the Anderson Silva of Guess That Tweets on undefeated, undisputed, about to get the 8th title. May as well give me the belt now.
You're gay.
All right. Well, I've got a squeezer if we're going to sudden death here. Are you guys ready for this shit?
Wait, really quick, Jay. You are, this is only your second Guess That Tweet. Would you rather go first or second?
I'll go second, if that's okay.
You can't guess the same as what Jake guessed.
Yeah, you can't guess the same as I guess. Ramses, go ahead. You already said second.
That's stupid.
Holy shit. Are you guys ready? Sudden death last tweet here. It's a short one. It's going to be hard, guys. It's a squeezer. Last tweet reads simply, laugh now, cry later. Was it Jimmy Hedis, Igor Pokrayak, Jimmy Manua, or John Jones?
Jesus Christ. Pokrayak? I really have no idea.
John Jones likes his short and snappy quotes.
So are you going with Jones?
Yep, got to.
Alright, Pokrayak and Jones, and if this doesn't settle it, I guess we'll need to do double overtime or something crazy.
Why don't you both pick a second fighter each out of the two that remain?
Ooh, I like that, Ray. You're a genius. Alright, I'll go with Pokrayak.
Whoa.
And
Whoa.
It is a snake draft. You're right.
I gotta say, guys, I do have, just in case this situation arose, I do have an extra tweet.
Oh shit, yeah, then let's keep on going.
You should get an award for being a host of the best host.
I know.
Who are the other two? If we're going by snake draft, who are the other two?
No. We're not going by snake draft.
Okay, that's right then.
Ramses, what is the answer, my friend?
It was not Jimmy Hedis. It was not John Jones. And it was not Igor Pokrayak. It was Jimmy Manua.
Oh, man.
Double overtime.
I guess
double overtime, Jay can pick first this time.
All right. This is it, guys. This is for the fucking title here. You guys understand?
I understand, and we will do a snake draft for this, so I'll pick two, and you get the first and the last pick, Jay.
Okay, fair enough, whatever.
All right, now here we go.
Don't give me attitude.
So nervous. I'm so nervous.
You should be, man. This is a great honor. I relinquished this title after having held it
Ray
2
and
weeks
Patrick are
straight.
getting bored now.
Yeah.
You've got to win. You're next on the line.
We're on the edge of our seats, Jay.
This is pretty intense.
Brett, you've got 1 point.
No pressure on me. I'm already out.
Come on, man.
All right, guys. Are you ready, gentlemen?
MMA Mental
Just do this.
is going down.
Here we go. The tweet reads as follows. R.I.P. Rest in peace. Master Helio Gracie. 4 years today without our Grandmaster. Hashtag BJJ. Hashtag Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Was it Vinny Magalhaes, Renzo Gracie, Ronda Rousey, or Eddie Bravo?
Was Renzo great? Go through them all again.
Vinny Magalhaes, Renzo Gracie, Ronda Rousey, or Eddie Bravo?
I'm going to go with Renzo Gracie.
Yeah, well, if I get the second and third pick, I just have to rule out who I don't think said this. I think Ronda Rousey's getting so mainstream in me. I don't know, I just feel like Vinny and Eddie Bravo are more likely to put up a R.I.P. Helio Gracie. No offense to Ronda Rousey, just, yeah, I'll take Vinny and Eddie Bravo. So, yeah, I have Vinny and Eddie Bravo. Jay has Renzo Gracie and Ronda Rousey.
Well, guys,
moment of truth.
I can say without a doubt that we do have a winner.
Good.
Now, it was not Renzo Gracie.
Oh, man. I'm out.
It was not Eddie Bravo, and it was not Ronda Rousey. It was Vinny Magalhaes himself. Rest in peace, Master Helio Gracie.
Good effort, Jay.
Jake wins the title.
I've been in this 2 times and come second twice. I'm doing well.
Not
Jay,
bad.
you can look, but you better not touch.
Jay's the Chael Sonnen of the goddamn Guess That tweet.
Hang on, I'm still inexperienced. I'm Chael Sonnen when he was young, baby.
I call fix word on the street.
I know. There was some
Man,
curveballs.
I'm in second place for overall titles with 3.
And Ramses is hot on your tail. I think I might have more than everyone else combined, but you know, I'm trying to stay grounded, trying to stay level.
This is unfair. I only just started out.
I did as well as Dave and Chris, and they weren't even on this week.
As one of the best humans of all time, I'm trying to keep a level head. I guess we'll move on to UFC 156. Ray, it's getting a little late on the UK side. It's 2 a.m. Did you want to stick around for UFC 156, or are we letting you go?
I'm going to have to shoot off. I've got to be up 5 hours for work. But it's been, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure.
We will have Patrick do an MMA mental shout out for you at the end of the show.
Cool. Thank you very much. Well, I'll speak to you all soon.
Later.
All right, love you, Ray.
Peace, Ray.
Love you like a man loves a woman. What? All right. Yeah, UFC 156 coming up. A lot of a lot of pretty decent prelims on there. I'll break those down while I pull it up and kind of talk in a sort of slow voice because I'm not paying attention to the words that are coming out of my mouth. I'm paying more attention to the Google search I'm doing to bring up UFC 156. There it is, UFC 156. February 2nd in Las Vegas, Nevada. Facebook prelims, a couple of bantamweights. Chico Camus versus Dustin Kimura. Edwin Figueroa versus Francisco Rivera. A bunch of lightweights on the FX prelim card. Gleison Tibau versus Evan Dunham. Jacob Volkman versus Bobby Green. Eve Edwards versus Isaac Valley Flag. And the welterweights, Tyron Woodley versus Jay Huron. And just for the sake of hearing him say it, Ramses, really quick, how will Eve Edwards get past Isaac Valley Flag?
Any way he wants to. Doesn't matter with Eve Edwards. He can pick and choose his finishes as they present themselves before him. I never worry or try to even call how my Thug Jitsu master is going to finish a fight. It's just whatever opening he sees, he's a veteran. He'll take it. He'll take the knockout. He'll take the submission. He'll take a counter. He'll fucking, you pull a gun on him, he'll take that. He'll just take it and turn it against you every time. That is the art of Thug Jitsu. I don't know how he'll finish this Isaac guy. It's just going to be devastating. I feel bad for this kid. Like I said, Greg Jackson, you fucked up with this one, man. Sorry. Eve Edwards, Thug Jitsu, shout out.
Shout out. I guess let's get to those main card fights, and we'll start off with the flyweights and what is likely the title eliminator fight. We have Joseph Benavidez taking on Ian McCall. Who you got? It's really worrying me that Ian McCall's going through this family trouble right before the fight. It sounds like his mind's going to be out of it. if we see an unmotivated McCall, which this sounds like a BJ Penn argument, but if we see an unmotivated McCall, he goes around there and gets thrashed by Benavidez, one-sided decision. But if he's pumped up, he's motivated, I think we can see Ian McCall go Hulk mode and beat up Benavidez maybe to a stoppage. Who do you guys have in this one?
You know what? I've been thinking about this one a lot, and honestly, I really think Uncle Creepy has a good shot at this one. He just has a different style than Benavidez. We saw it against Demetrius Johnson. Just he doesn't really. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, but it's just different. I like McCall in his boxing. I think he does have some pretty tight boxing. So and his wrestling is very good as well. It's fairly underrated, and he's a big 125er. So I think there's a really good chance he can do the impossible and beat Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I gotta agree with what Jake said. If Uncle Creepy's personal problems are getting in the way of his performance in any way on Saturday, Joseph Benavidez is going to capitalize and squeeze out that decision victory. I don't see him TKOing Ian McCall or knocking him out, really. I don't see a submission happening. Decision win by Benavidez unless Ian McCall is all there and brings it. In that case, Benavidez is in trouble, and Ian McCall, yeah, he does have the potential to finish him. But it just depends on which Uncle Creepy is going to show up, as they say.
Everything I want to say has been mentioned. I'm going with Benavidez. The odds for McCall are pretty good if you're a fan, but I think Benavidez wins. I think it'd be silly.
Yeah, welterweight bout that is going to be extremely close. John Fitch, Damian Maia. I'll wait until everyone puts their 2 cents in on this one because this is really close. Fitch, you have coming off that win against Eric Silva. Damian Maia coming off that. Who did he just fight? My phone going off completely derailed my thinking.
He fought Okami, and then he fought. He choked out that guy Rick Story.
Yeah, coming off that win versus Rick Story at UFC 153, and I think you meant Dong Young Kim, not Yushin Okami.
I said Yum Yum Okami.
Oh, Yum Yum Okami.
I'm sorry.
I apologize. But yeah, both of them look good, but I'm leaning Fitch, UD. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah, this one's going to be pretty fucking close. John Fitch, man, I know he's like submission proof, but he likes to get himself into those submission positions. And Damian Maia is the last motherfucker in the UFC that you ever want to put yourself in the position to get submitted. Even though you're tough at avoiding it, John, this guy is the krypton. He's the answer, man. So hopefully John Fitch will fight smart. He'll stay dominant somehow. Hopefully he'll be a little bit bigger than Damian Maia. I don't know how they size up. I'll have to see at the weigh-in. So that's when I'll make my judgment tomorrow, when I see how they actually size up against each other.
First of all, Jake, you've got to turn that phone off, man. You can't be having texts from your mum at this during a podcast. I think we know who it is, really. But, I see this being a very interesting fight. Fitch wins by taking guys out and staying on top of them. Staying on top of Maia probably isn't the best decision to do. I think Fitch UD is the safe pick, but it really is a coin flip. It just depends how confident Fitch is if he is an idiot. If he is an idiot and leaves someone out there, would he do it on purpose? I really don't know. I think it's 50-50 in my head.
This is a close fight to call, but I'm going to call it, goddammit. Maia's going to take this shit. Fitch is a fucking wrestler. He finally showed a little bit of ground and pound. He tried to finish a fight against Eric Silva. Couldn't even fucking do it. At least he put in an effort. That was nice. But I tell you what, he's not going to be able to do that to Damian Maia. He's been coming out just looking like a fucking jackal. Just insane. He fucking broke Yum Yum Kim. He broke his fucking ribs, taking him down in that fight. He took Kim down, who is one of the better wrestlers at 175 or 170. Excuse me. he fucking massacred Rick Story. He fucking damn near broke his neck and fucking had that nose just, oh my God, his fucking nose just started bleeding from the pressure of that fucking neck crank that Damian Maia was putting on there. It was a thing of beauty. Maia, he's coming to fucking break some shit, and he's gonna fucking ruin John Fitch's night. I guarantee it.
Powerful words there. Yeah, and two fights that Patrick and I were talking about being not so close. Lease in Vegas, Alistair Overeem a minus 500, Rashad Evans a minus 400. We'll talk about the first one first. Alistair Overeem. I'm pretty sure all of us have Overeem. Does Antonio Silva have a chance? I submit that he doesn't. Alistair Overeem can clinch him up, deliver the Uber knees, keep him at bay, do whatever he wants. He's got smooth kickboxing, smooth Muay Thai, and he'll win this fight for sure.
Overeem by KO in the first round. Silva seems to want to stand with a lot of people. That would be a stupid idea against Overeem. End of.
Yeah, no doubt. I got Overeem easily, handily. It's going to be a massacre. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, I agree. First round murder. First degree. Overeem all the way. Bigfoot has absolutely no chance at all. The juice is loose.
All right. Juice is loose. Only a couple left. Rashad Evans versus Little Nog. Little Nog, I talk about underrated guys all the time. I'm afraid I'm afraid Little Nog is one of my overrated guys. I don't see any way he wins this fight. Rashad Evans, unanimous decision, or if he wants to finish, he'll finish it. Who do you guys have?
Again, I've got Rashad. To me, this fight makes no sense. I'm not interested in this fight. I wasn't happy with it when it was first announced. I really couldn't care less. Provided Rashad doesn't get clipped with anything stupid, that probably ruin the last few months of my life anyway, because of how much I've just wanted Rashad to win a fight badly. Oh man, I can't be arsed with this fight.
I'm thinking Rashad takes this fight, but as far as how much sense it makes, actually, I think Lil Nog is coming off his win against Tito Ortiz in his last fight. I'd have to go back and look it up, but I'm pretty sure that's the case, and he's just been sitting out with injury. Rashad, he's top at 205, of course, just coming off that Jones loss. I like this fight. And you know what? I give Rogerio a good chance in here because he's got some power. Rashad, he's only ever been knocked out by Lyoto Machida. He went the fucking distance. He went 5 rounds with John Jones. But I think Rogerio does have the power to put him out. So he does have a good chance. In fact, I think the odds being what they are pretty fucking disrespectful. But yeah, I still, if I'm picking, I'm putting my money on Rashad Evans.
I am from the future, and I'm here to tell you, word on the street is that Rashad Evans will defeat Nogueira in the 3rd round, and then he's going to ask for the title shot. Official prediction.
This last one's not going to be as tough to predict, though. People are clamoring for all these title fights, whether it's Jones Cormier, Jones Silva, Silva GSP, but we got a super fight right here. Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar, both top 10 pound-for-pound guys. Frankie Edgar had fought at lightweight, forever not cutting any weight. Now he's finally making that cut to 145 we've been waiting on. Who do you guys have? This is going to be very close. One of those points I made on last night's show that I hadn't really thought of before I said it, both guys are fighting the toughest opponent of their career. Frankie Edgar isn't going to have that speed advantage he has on most of his lightweight opponents. I don't think Jose Aldo is going to be, going to have that footwork advantage he normally has. It's going to be very, very close. Who you got? Aldo Edgar. This one's going to be a motherfucking barn burner.
This fight is going to be fucking ridiculous. It won't even be ridiculous. It's so fucking hard to call. I mean, their styles are just fucking. They both have these great components to their game. Frankie Edgar has great boxing. He's got great wrestling. Jose Aldo, he's got great Muay Thai. He's just fucking. He's a beast. He's going to be coming into this fight a little bit bigger than Frankie Edgar. This is going to be Frankie Edgar's first cut to 145. I mean, what the fuck? There's just so many different variables in this fight. As someone who loves predicting MMA, this is so fucking hard. I mean, last night I was thinking Frankie Edgar would come in and get the upset. You know, now I'm thinking Jose Aldo's going to do it, and it's legit. I have changed my mind in less than 24 hours. I'm now picking Jose Aldo to beat Frankie Edgar.
No, man, this one's fucking tough. This is another one where I want to see how they size up tomorrow. But Jose Aldo, he's coming off a broken foot, assuming he has made a full recovery, and that he's going to throw those kicks with power. I think that's his key to victory over Frankie Edgar. Just kick the shit out of his legs just like he did to fucking Uriah. Frankie I don't think his leg kicking defense is really, I mean, what was he doing last time? Just catching them and taking them, basically absorbing them. Yeah, if Jose Aldo's got his feet back under him, he'll win this one. But if for any reason he doesn't have that knockout power in his feet, then Frankie Edgar is going to actually outstrike him and beat him down. Word.
Something to go back to. Jake said it's the best fight of both guys' careers or whatever. I think Frankie Edgar, the toughest fight. I think Frankie Edgar has fought people tougher. I think Benson Henderson is very stylistically similar to Jose Aldo, except for you take away the reach and you take away the wrestling, and the only difference between them, really, like I said, is the reach, wrestling, and KO power. Aldo's got the power to finish fights, whereas Benson Henderson doesn't really have that KO power. As for trying to pick it, everybody said it's a stylistical nightmare. If Edgar wants the takedowns, he's going to have a chance. However, Aldo, the speed is neutralised. So how good is he? Picking this fight is hard. I'm picking Aldo, but I could easily see Frankie Edgar pulling it off with some takedowns.
Oh, I got to step in here real quick if you don't mind, Jake.
Go ahead.
I just saw a tweet relating to the very fight that we're talking about here from MMA journalist, sports journalist Brett Okamoto. It says, have to pass this on. Aldo had a small cut over his left eye with stitches in it. I asked him about it, and he said it was nothing, no concern.
Oh,
yeah. There's no other answer you can give, but maybe Edgar goes after that eye, tries to bust it open a little bit.
Yeah, this is not good news for Aldo fans, man. The fix might be in here.
The fix is in. It's a work, ladies and gentlemen. Does anything have anything else on that fight before I send it out?
You know what? I'll shout out MMA Mental while we got the opportunity.
Yeah, go ahead.
Fucking A, we got tomorrow our debut on Fridays. We're gonna have a couple good guests on. It's gonna be good as always. Check out the MMA Mental website. We've got the latest breaking news, the UFC rankings. MMA Mental had that already. Go and check it out. We're good to go. Follow MMA Mental. Follow Sweet Pappy Jones to get it. Your boy P Money.
Yeah, MMA Mental. Sweet Pappy Jones. Ramsey's word on the street shout out.
Just follow me on Twitter, The Ant Jimmy Show, and your life will never be the same. Word on the street.
It truly won't. Jay, you're on too. You have any shout outs you want to throw out there?
Just get your picks in on the MMA Playground, guys. That's it.
And if you're not on the playground yet, check it out because you don't know what you're missing. Thanks to our listeners. The Roundtable's every Thursday, 7 to 9 Eastern, 4 to 6 Pacific, 12 to 2 a.m. in the UK. We got Bellator to get to and watch right now. Listen to the MMA podcast, switching every Friday. Time to be determined. Follow us on Twitter at the MMA podcast to get that time. And for myself, Patrick, Ramses, Jay, Chris, Ray, Dave, we're gone. See you next week. Peace.
Look up to the sky, hide a little smile in amusement. Never grown accustomed to losing.